Okay, we're gonna do a very quick husbandry video for my Monocentropus Balfouri or Balfouri. Um, these guys, they're not out much. This is a burrowing species, and I was very fortunate that two of mine just molted. One just molted out. It's a mature male. I was really disappointed yesterday when I noticed it, and my other one just molted earlier today, and it looks to be a female. So pretty excited about this. I've had these guys for quite some time. I picked them up from Ken the Bug Guy, oh gosh, almost a year and a half ago. And again, this is a species that if kept at higher temps would obviously grow faster. My temps in my house, generally speaking, in the wintertime are 70 to 75, 76 or so. And in the summertime, it gets mid 70s, 75, 76 to 80, sometimes 82, but around there. So most of these guys do the majority of their growing during the summer months. You can hear the crickets going nuts in the background. I'm really excited to see this one out because she's finally showing her adult colors, really a beauty. So I don't want to disturb her too much, so I'm going to make this one very, very quick, but I'll just remove the cover here, try to get a good shot of her. There's the girl, looking absolutely gorgeous. Get a little closer. Again, I feel bad kind of taking advantage of the fact that she just molted to get some shots of her, but she'll be back underground after this. Actually, this one is due for a rehousing. I'll take a moment to show you what I got her in for housing in a minute. Obviously, critter keeper variety, but there she is. Her water dish, I just plucked out her. I added another water dish on top of this one, which was molded. I just plucked it out because there was a cricket in it. There's also a dead cricket in there. These guys are heavy, heavy webbers. And unfortunately, one of the problems I've been having with them is when I drop a cricket in and they're not ready to eat, the crickets get embedded in the webbing. And to try to get them out, it ends up ripping up all the webbing. So that's what actually had happened over here before. I took a big chunk out with a cricket in it. Later on, I will have to get that one. She's actually going to get rehoused very, very soon. I'm going to give her a much larger, probably her adult enclosure with a lot of deep substrate. This is one that wants deep substrate, dry substrate. They like it dry, and a water dish. Very, very simple species to keep, but it is an African species. It is one of the baboon species. And although this one isn't particularly aggressive, they're more flighty than anything. And I've seen only one threat pose for my three since I got them. This is a species that can pack a nasty wallop. So although it's beautiful, and I'm sure some people are going, oh, I need to get one of those, it's very, very quick. And if it wasn't for the fact that it just molted and is resting, it would be very, very skittish and flighty. The other thing to think about is this can be a pet hole species. I'm fortunate in that mine come out quite a bit. In the morning, they're usually right out in the open. Sometimes in the evening, they come marching out. So I have seen these guys a lot, much more compared to some of my other fossorial species. So let me put this back on. So I got them in a small critter keeper. When I got these guys, there were juveniles about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches or so. So this was a nice little setup for them. But as you can see, with the dry cocoa fiber in here, they need bigger enclosures. I could keep her in this one, but I really want to get her in something bigger. I'll back up. This is not a great shot. There we go. Critter keepers, I don't use them anymore. I found they're decent for the species that can be kept in dry conditions, because obviously with the amount of ventilation on the top, it makes it very difficult to maintain any type of humidity, and it evaporates very, very quickly. These guys have actually been fairly good eaters. I will say when I first got them as juveniles, one of the issues I was having is they seem to prefer smaller prey. I don't know if other people have experienced this as well. I've had a couple species of tarantulas that generally like to be offered prey that's usually much smaller than when you feed a spider of that size. So even when they put on some size, I was feeding them like 3 or 4 very small crickets. When I put something bigger and they seemed intimidated by it, they'd rush into their burrows and I wouldn't see them. So something to think about if you get the species, if you find they're not eating. That is something that I did notice while keeping them, and all 3 of them did it. I also noticed that in the colder, drier winter months, these guys would kind of, for lack of a better term, hibernate a bit. They would go into their burrows, and I would barely see them. And then usually once it started heating up around, here I'm in New England, so it's April or so, the weather starts getting a little better. You'd sometimes see them pop out, and then they'd start eating again. So that's one of the reasons why these guys, this one here is probably close to 3.5, 3.75 inches or so. I'm not sure. I don't want to over-exaggerate it, so I'll underestimate. And she's probably pushing, I've had her again close to 2 years. So wonderful species. I love them personally. I do see them a lot more than some of my other burrowers, which is a plus. For a starter baboon, I like them. I mean, I have a lot of different baboon species, and this one seems to be one of the more docile of the group. But again, they can move quickly. They can pack a wallop of a bite, and it's not something that a type of species that somebody who hasn't had much experience with tarantulas might want to deal with. I'll get one more shot of her. It's the M. Balfouri. Beautiful baboon species, and definitely one for people who like the blue spiders. I have to admit, I'm a big fan of them.